Get off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on CNBC, NBC, and NBC Sports Radio Station, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, streaming everywhere. The station that leaves no listener behind, home to the Asian Oprah. And also love streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, Tiki Live, Rumble, Podchaser, Spreaker, Streaker, and more. Why so many places? Because I want to maximize my splatter zone for more hope and happiness and balance out all the bad news that is so readily available out there. You will notice over this past 642 consecutive weeks that I don't talk about anything that's going on where everyone else is talking about it, because you have plenty of places to get all the CNN's constantly negative news. When it bleeds, it leads. And so 12 and a half years ago, I made the decision that this would be a positive show. They said it wouldn't last longer than a year, and I'm so glad that they're wrong. And I have topics and guests and co-hosts and series to that end, as you can see from who's in studio live with me today. This is no exception. It's the special Wednesday series called Doctors in the House with yours truly and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
welcome back to the studio, Dr. Tiffanie. She's a veteran, an author, a speaker, an ObGyn, and more. We're so happy to see her again.
Always a pleasure.
Yes, it is. And as you can tell, I'm not at home. I am Dr. Mercer reporting live in San Diego this couple of days. And I am at the IVAT conference. Remember, I had Dr. Bob Geffner on to talk about Institute of Violence, Abuse, and Trauma. And it's a great conference. Look forward to the keynote today, who isn't me. I've keynoted twice for this group. And so apparently I was told I'm like the only keynote that's been repeated, but I'm going to say it's because of COVID. But the guy is one of the victims turned activists of the gun violence at Parkside High School. And so that's why I'm here. Well, that's not the only reason, but I want to be able to bring him back to the show. So that's one of my goals today. But before we get started with the fabulous topic that we have today, which I picked for a change, is balanced parenting. And I'm so excited to talk to you about it. I actually talked to my daughter this morning and asked her, Dr. Tiffanie, what about my parenting did she remember in a positive way? And so I have those answers and more. But before we go there, it's time for breakfast with Dr. Marissa and her beautiful co-host,
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
Why don't you start? Top of the button is
things that we are thankful for. And I am thankful to have both of my young adults home with me before Nathaniel leaves for his PhD program at Rutgers University. And Mia is home studying before she takes her LSAT. So I am thankful for that.
I didn't know she wanted to be a lawyer.
She is considering entertainment law.
Oh, what a brilliant way to use her talents, gifts, and abilities. Wow. Why don't you keep going? I'm gonna fix the banner here for me for a second.
Okay.
So I can't talk and type at the same time, especially
Oh,
on
no
the phone.
worries, no worries. I am also thankful to have the love and support of my friends. We had the celebration of life for my uncle this past Friday, and it was a beautiful ceremony in Compton. And I learned something that he had. Um, Published, I guess, a recorded, single
Hmm.
called, "Some Kinda Woman," and it's available on YouTube, and so that was
Really?
I had learned about him, and I am also thankful that my uncle, who was in the hospital, did come home. So that
Oh,
was another thing that I am thankful for, and you met my auntie Barbara at my birthday
I
party.
did.
That
I
was her
did. It's
who
her husband?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Was he at the fair?
No,
I mean at the
he was in the hospital. He was still at
Oh, okay.
the hospital. Yeah.
Okay. I love your Auntie Barbara.
Mhm.
Yeah. Wow. Um, yeah, I'm grateful that he's back too. A little update on my bonus data. He's still, I think he's supposed to be coming back, although I don't know what back is because he still is experiencing the after effects of the stroke. He's up and down. One day I'll be like, oh, this is not my dad, because he's like not responding anything close to how I know him. And then the next day it'll be really good. And then it's bad. But now my mom also fell. So it's just one of those 91, 94. Aging sucks. And, just whatever is the best for them. I think that I've stopped praying for, what I want, and whatever's the least suffering, whatever's the least, physically and emotionally painful is my prayer. So, but breath of peace and comfort, and healing and energy for my sisters who are, really taking the brunt of this. Some of the sisters live away, and so I just want to give them some love this morning. So I'm also grateful that I can broadcast remotely and that I can actually do two things at one time. I'm grateful that I get my kids this weekend coming down to celebrate my Leo birthday still
Whoop,
for
whoop,
a couple more
whoop.
days. The two of us really do take the birthday to an extreme, which is great. I love it. I've finally met someone who probably takes it further than I do.
Guilty.
So, but we're glad you're here. I see eyeballs coming in. Please do not chat with us if you are driving, but if you're not, go to my YouTube free subscribe channel, TV channel, and you can talk to us. It's a great topic, and I'm glad that we're finally getting around to it because um, this is my segue into the bottom of the bun, which is what do you like about yourself? What do you appreciate about yourself? And even though we're told don't toot your own horn. You're not all that. Who do you think you are? Those are all BS that we grew up with, belief systems that you're not supposed to like or love yourself, which really has led us to a place where a lot of people just are not happy with themselves. And it just comes out in other ways that they're unhappy with everybody else, right? What's that saying of the bullies, hurt people hurt people. So this is my attempt to weight lift your ability to like yourself. So what do you like about yourself? And I'll say I appreciate that I was a really good mom 88% of the time. And I'm just so tickled that my daughter actually called this morning for for no reason. And so I asked her the question, what do you remember that made a positive difference in my mothering for you? So we'll have the answers to that after we finish breakfast. Dr. Tiffany, what do you like about yourself?
I like the fact that I am evolving and I am receptive to compliments. And I would say that before I tended to be more dismissive and be like, "Oh no, you don't mean it." But no, I think that I am owning it and I'm learning to walk in it and be more receptive to it.
I love hearing that, and I would give you applause normally, but I don't want to stick my finger in the camera as well. Yeah, just that one of those. Um, I'm so glad to hear that, especially for women. I have this thing that I do when I'm motivational speaking on gender difference, and I say, have a guy day, because most women, if you say, you know, nice haircut, oh, I didn't even wash it this morning, or nice outfit, oh, I got it on sale for $2 at such and such a place, or instead of saying thank you, right? Oh, we just got a
Yeah.
finger on that one. Thank you for the finger, this one. And guys, on the other hand, so girls think they are not as attractive, fatter, and not as smart as they actually are. Most women, not all. But most men, on the other hand, have somehow, either they hide it well, but they think they are better looking, more buff, and have more hair than they actually do. So I tell women, have a guy day,
Oh,
because
absolutely.
then we'll, be nicer to ourselves. So I'm really glad about that. But all right, that is it for breakfast with Dr. Marissa and
Dr. Tiffany Tate.
taking a bite of our gratitude sandwich today. And I promise you that if you continue this good life habit, this hashtag Blisscipline, for the next 28 consecutive days, it's that to build the habit, you will sandwich your day in the most positive way. Thanks for joining us for breakfast. See if I can grab that. There it is. All righty. It is time for the topic of the day, which is
Parenting. Woohoo!
mhm. And my brand is balanced parenting. So please, if you have any questions as we are addressing this, or tips of your own that it's worked for you, and preferably if you're going to put a tip in there, you actually have children. It's amazing the number of people who have opinions and advice when they don't have children. A little pet peeve of mine, or one that is like two, and they're giving teenage advice. So here's the qualification: if you have I shouldn't discriminate against people with just one child, but there is an added, dimension of parenting when you have more than one. But they have to be over 21 in order for you to give the actual tip. Because until you've really gotten them out of your nest and really see kind of the impact, is how old's Mia?
She is 22.
Oh, good. She
Yeah,
passes. Okay, so
22
we're
and
good.
24.
We're
Yeah.
both qualified. So, um, I picked this topic. So for a change, I'm gonna let myself go first, if that's okay
Mhm.
with you.
That's right.
And I had the delight of speaking to my daughter this morning. She is going on September 13th. She will be 27. She went to Cornell. She's up in San Francisco. She's been working for a medical research and pharmaceutical company, and done very well. She She's my she's the one that didn't fall far from my tree. And so the good news is, um, like, she gets me and I get her, and at the same time, the bad news is we sometimes bump heads more because we're so much alike. Um, but she said that the number one thing she remembers that has balanced her out as a young adult is gratitude. And just the same way that I force you to do taking a bite of the gratitude sandwich in the morning, when I took them to school, when they were really young, age, I started at 3 because they know how to say thank you. The twos are still a little too wild to have anything sink in. So starting at 3, you can actually ask your kids on the way to school to put down their phones. We didn't have cell phones in those days when they were really, really young. And ask them what are 3 things that they are grateful for. And they don't it has doesn't have to be long. So my kids would say, I'm grateful for the sun, I'm grateful for the moon, right? If they got tired of, trying to think of new ones, grateful for my friends, and I'll ask them to be specific. Which friend? And so specificity and brevity is fine. And then once they reached 5, 6, 7, I added, like, the top of the bun and the bottom of the bun, appreciation. What do you appreciate about your mom, about your sister, and about yourself? And that got them going with, what do I like about myself? And it was not easy. They were just mortified because I would do this to their friends who had a ride. And when we carpooled with different moms, they were mortified that I made their friends do this with us in the car. But the beautiful thing is, I still have my other daughters and sons will say that they remember that and that it helped them, sort of focus on what's good. And there's nothing better than that kind of a positive impact on kids that remember 20 years later. So I am truly grateful for that. So that is one of my, probably the foundation parenting tip that I offer. I've been asked to write a parenting book. I'm We'll get to that. It will be called balanced parenting, but that is it. There's your there's the secret right there.
Okay. Well, I approached it from a different perspective. I approached it, I would say, from two perspectives. One from my experience with my children, and one from experience with their friends and my family. As you know, I come from a very big family. I have like over 30 first cousins, and I've interacted with them as well as my kids and their friends, because I was like a community mom. I was the soccer coach. I was the volunteer for the choir. I was the volunteer parent for the band. I went on all the trips. So I was that community mom. So I was mom to everybody. And when the kids would come home, we would have, the kids called it KTT, kitchen table talk. They were like, oh,
Mm. You were
so
the first Red Table Talk then. You were doing Red Table Talk way before they did, huh?
yeah, but we didn't call it red table talk. They were like, oh, here we go, kitchen table talk. Because we would sit at the table, during dinner, after dinner, and it was kitchen table talk. And there was nothing that was off limits. And I would say that all time with your kids is quality time. Because if you don't talk to your kids, their friends are going to talk to them. And you need to educate them. Because if you don't properly educate them, they're going to get the wrong education, and they don't know what they don't know because they don't know it. And you want to
Mhm.
make sure that they get the right thing. Now, I was a peer advisor in college, so I'm always about education, and whether it is education for scholastics, whether it's education about life. And I'll give you a prime example. I was having cable issues, and the cable guy came, and he was really good with remembering things. And he was like, "Hey, I remember back in 2018 when I came by, and your husband was this." I was like, "Well, I'm divorced now, and blah this." And I gave him professional guidance about going back to school and blah this. So I
Wow.
was mentoring him. So it's what I do. It's innate and it's within me. And so I think it's something that you need to do. And as parents, we don't always think about mentoring our children, but we are a guide for them. And you can say, okay, well, I didn't go to college. You don't have to have gone to college to encourage your children to go to college. And he was like, well, I'm not really sure if I want to go to school for that long. I'm like, well, that's fine. There are certificate programs, there are other things you can do. And so you have to meet them where they're at. So it's about figuring out what's best for an individual. And when it comes to your children, you want to see what's best for them, what gifts they have within them, and how you can nourish and help those things flourish. And you want to make sure that you don't compare your children. We talked about comparing relationships, but it's important to not compare your kids, because if you do, then they begin to shut down. Me having two children, I always say, "You're my favorite son, you're my favorite daughter." And it's easy to do that because I only have one son and I only have one daughter. If you have
Mhm.
three children or you have five children, my grandma had 12 kids. So it's easy to get lost in the fray. And so you want to
Mhm.
make sure that each child feels special.
Yeah, absolutely. Great stuff. We are going to take a quick break for news and traffic. You're tuned to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa. The morning show will be back in and peace out. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome back. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa. The morning show, very special series on Wednesdays called Doctors in the House with myself
Dr. Tiffany Tate.
and we're on KCAA NBC News Radio, home to the Asian Oprah, number one talk in the IE. Thank you very much. And streaming everywhere, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and of course, my Show Central, all 1,218 podcast shows here on my free subscribe YouTube TV channel. We're so glad to have you. We're talking about balanced parenting. We're playing tag on our differences and our similarities. I will jump on a similarity that I had with Dr. Tiffany. We didn't call it the kitchen table talk, but my daughter raised the important helpful thing that I did as a child. I went completely opposite to what my mom did, which was not talk at all about anything womanly. And as a result, it was a horrifying experience when I first had got my menses and didn't know. I thought I was dying, and I may have taken it to the other extreme. We do that sometimes. Whatever parenting you had is great parenting because it either taught you what you want to repeat or what you want to stay away from. And I always say the most important thing is that we just do a little bit better than our parents did and not blame them because they did what they were taught and they may not have had, and so on and so forth. So, unfortunately, well, she said the positive thing was it's not that we could talk about sex necessarily, but just that anything was okay to talk about, similar to what you were saying, that anything was on the table. And although I can remember a day when I'm sure it was Chloe that said, Mom, can we have one meal without using the V word? Not sure it's one of the words I can use on this FCC channel, so I'm not going to use it, but you know what I'm talking about. So that was definitely one of the most great things that I appreciate that I was able to do for my kids so that they can talk to me about everything. And to this day, that still applies. And as far as favorites, I had two girls, so I couldn't say my favorite girl. So I would say, you're my best big girl in the whole wide world. And then for Sarah, I would say, you're the best little girl in the whole wide world. And they still use that to this day when they sign cards, your best big girl, your best little girl. And then from the time they were little, I would do things like, I love you dearly. And
Oh,
they still
that's
do that. When I'm going away, we'll just do this and we know what that means. And all of my little great nieces and great nephews do that. And I teach them that. And that is still amazing.
absolutely. And I think it's important to come up with anything that helps you bond with your children. And a lot of times as parents, we put extra pressure on ourselves thinking that we have to know everything. And it's okay to not know everything. And it's okay to admit that you don't know everything because there are resources out there and available, like we mentioned last week. And there are classes and courses that you can take either in person or online, either
Mhm.
within your community, at your local hospital, depending on what level of care you want, whether it's newborn, child, teenager, even young adult, depending on what you need, you can get the resource that you need. So, like I said before, it's okay to not know something. Just go ahead and admit it and seek the help.
And this is a great time to bring up some books that my co-host here has authored that are really helpful to address things that are difficult to address. Parents are, you know, I remember the first time we're gonna have the talk, the birds and the bees, and my kids are like, no. And I just, it's like, I know, super uncomfortable, but we're going to have this at some point. We just might as well get it out of the way and talk about that. But the one book in particular that I love that Dr. Tiffany wrote is called Bad Touching, right?
Yes,
Did
yes,
I get that right? I was calling
absolutely.
it something wrong before. Tell us what that book is about.
Yes. So Bad Touching is a rhythmic story, a poetic story about two little girls who encounter a situation with their mother's boyfriend, and they don't know where to go or what to do for help. And the story outlines resources that they are able to find, and then they are able to get the help that they need. And then they are able to learn how to speak up and speak out because a lot of times parents are uncomfortable and can't figure out what to do. And this is what the book looks like, and it's available on Amazon as well as Barnes and Noble. And the other book that I have is Little Engine Mia Sings, and it addresses bullying. And it is also a poetic story that helps teach children about bullying. And autistic children have also been enticed by this book. So these books educate, enlighten, as well as entertain. And I recommend that you get it either for your child, your niece, your nephew, a friend. And I hope you enjoy it.
Oh, great. Thank you. There's another book selection from my catalog. It's called Mommy What Are Feelings? And I actually sold out of the hard copy now. So we're looking for a new printer, but it is in PDF form that you can download from my shop. It's a donation for my nonprofit. But the beautiful thing about it is, as well, I didn't know your autism link, but the autistic community has really embraced this book. I've had parents that say, this is the book like 100 times that the child will want it read during the week, because every feeling has a taste, a touch, a sight, and a sound. So, mommy, what is excited? Excited is a bright yellow swing. Sorry, bright orange swing. Right, so you get that visual and the tactile, and it's an orange popsicle, and it also rhymes too. It's got the sad, but it also has the other emotions as well. So that's available at drmarissa.life. And we really, I'll just give the Asian Oprah giveaway. I'll give a copy of that, the PDF download of that today for your Asian Oprah giveaway. First person to go to drmarissa.life will get that. And that's what we're here for. This is a solution oriented show. We don't talk about the problems, only insofar as we can talk about the solution. And it's time again for traffic and news here on NBC News Radio KCAA. We'll be right back. Don't go away. We'll be back in piece it, and two, if I can find it. There.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And you're tuned into Doctors in the House with myself and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
here on KCAA, NBC News Radio, home to the Asian Oprah and number one talk in the IE. Thank you very much. And the station that leaves no listener behind. And today's topic on our Wednesday series is balanced parenting, or parenting. My particular brand is called Balanced Parenting because I'm all about balance. And we have been giving out some experiential and what we use in our own coaching practices to help people with parenting based on both uh what we have seen that works, as well as what we've learned from professionals, as well as we have parented, myself, two girls, and Dr. Tiffany, male and female, and they've been on the show, and I just love them. And one of the best things about your 50th party was the reception that I got from your family, in particular, your kids. And I just feel like they're my adopted niece and nephew, and it's just lovely. And it is, and I want to qualify one thing. If you did the best that you could and you were a good parent, that doesn't guarantee that their path that they're taking is necessarily what you want them to. Doesn't mean you're a bad parent. And I really want to put that moose on the table. I didn't bring my moose with me, but that's my Canadian version of the elephant in the room, because I do work with many parents who are heartbroken because they did the best that they could. They came from a very loving home. They provided the same kind of loving home to their kids. And their kids' journey is, going school hard knocks sometimes, or, a lot of pain and, addiction, and not understanding and blaming themselves. And I just want, if you're a parent and you're going through that, there are support groups for that. There are ways to fortify yourself and not beat yourself up. Um,
Yeah.
there's programs for that. If your child is an addict or an alcoholic, Al-Anon is a great 12-step program that is free, basically. So there are resources out there. Please stop beating yourself up. I think that is, Dr. Tiffany certainly will join me in that. I don't want you to think that we're bragging about our, successful children and it's 100% due to the way we raised them. Absolutely not. But I do know that there are things that do help kids in that little journey called growing up with you. And that's what we're doing today.
Yeah. And like I said, with my family being so large and me having over 30 first cousins, All of them did not become doctors and lawyers and things like that. Some of them went to college. Some of them did not pursue any secondary education. Some of them do not work at all. And the best way to set your children up for success, if you don't have an education yourself and you don't know how to help your children prepare for school or do their homework, get tutoring. It's free usually. You can get free tutoring at the school. Talk to their teachers. Go to the parent teachers conferences. Show up. That's one of the easiest things to do. And if
Mhm.
your schedule is busy and you can't show up, find a friend. If you go to church, find someone at church who can show up for you. If you don't go to church, find a cousin, find an aunt, find a relative, find someone who can show up on your behalf. Remember, you do have a circle, you do have a community. Find someone who can help you out. Remember, we are our sister's keeper, our brother's keeper.
Mhm.
You do need a village because it really does take a village to raise a child. And children need supervision because without supervision, they're left to their own devices. And being left to their own devices, that is when they stray. And you want to watch them. Now, if you have done the best you can and you have done everything you can, and then they still do their own thing, it is not on you when they decide to make the wrong choice. All
Mhm.
you can do is the best you can. And
Yeah.
if you've done the best you can, the Bible says, train up a child the best that, train up a child in the way that they should go. And when they are old, they shall not depart. So if they stray, hopefully they'll come back. So do the best you can.
Mhm. Great. Yeah, I'm going to answer the question that I put in my promo as well, which is what do you say to a child at this time of the year, back to school, and they're like, I don't want to go to school. And this answer applies actually no matter if they're six to, I remember, the first semester my daughter was at Cornell and it was her idea, not mine. I know I look like a tiger mom, but she really wanted to go to an Ivy League and she busted her butt and got there. And first, when it got cold, she's a California girl, right? And it got cold and, snobby people and blah, 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 blah. And I want to quit. I don't want to go anymore. And to the small child, oh, I don't, why do I have to go to school? Why do I have to go to college? Okay, so here's the answer that worked for me. And um, you're welcome to use it, which is yes, and I had smart kids. They would say, "Well, look, Steve Jobs and so didn't go to school, and so dropped out of college, and they were successful, and blah 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 blah." And I will say, yes, the good point. You're absolutely right. And oh, what about this person? They went and got accounting, and they hate accounting. Blah blah blah. College, high school, college, grad school, whatever school it is, what it does for everyone is provide more possible doors to go through. That's it. So you don't have to go, right? You don't have to get the degree. You were saying, your family wasn't, or some people are from families that no one went to college. Why should I go to college? You did fine or whatever. The answer is I didn't have as many choices because I did not go to college. If you go to college, you have more choices. That's it. And the ability to have multiple ways in which to go is a good thing in life because if you can only go one way, that's going to get like a little boring. So that's the answer I used. It worked. Hopefully, it'll work for you. If they don't understand it, you can, default to, maybe you're just going to have to wait till you're 18 to understand. But more choices. That's it.
Yeah, I remember when Nathaniel was in elementary school, and he came home and he was like, "Mom, am I rich?" And I looked at him and I was like, "No, you're poor." I was like, "Who told you you're rich?" He was like, "My friend said I'm rich." And I said, "What makes you think you're rich?" He was like, "My friend said it." I said, "Well, mommy has stuff, but you have nothing, and you have got to get your own." So let me be very, very
Woo!
clear.
A little tough love there.
Absolutely. Let me be very clear. You have nothing, and you have got to work hard and study hard and get your own. And and I've always taught my children that what mommy has is what mommy has. And what you have is absolutely nothing. And you will have to work hard and study hard and get your own. And I will take care of you and help you to a certain point. But you have got to get your own. And I think that we have got to teach our children that and help
Mhm.
them understand that we are stewards of them until a certain point,
Yeah,
but it's only to a certain point.
right.
This is not live with me forever. This is just to a certain point.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a good point. I don't know if I would exactly say it that tough love, but I I will definitely agree that there is a time. I think teenager is a good time because they are stretching themselves. Normally, that's what teenagers are for. To me, it's a time that will allow me to also develop enough separation so that I'm not like destroyed when they leave home. So I think there's that teenager period by design.
Well, Dr.
And
Marissa, it gets tougher when they right before they became teenagers or around that time when they got old enough to understand um, the less fortunate. You know, I volunteer to help feed and serve the less fortunate.
mhm, mhm,
Put them in a car and drive them around so that they can see the less fortunate.
yes,
And I was like, "Okay, you need to work hard and study hard so that you don't end up like this."
yeah. I would take them on a metro ride. That's what I did and I would take their friends as well as part of that education around why it's a balance for me. It's not. I kind of wish that I had not been quite as tiger mommy around you have to. I was a whole lot better than my parents were, but that whole emphasis on, it's a struggle and it's hard and you have to really really, da, 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 because I think that that feeds into some of the BS in our society, that you have to stay in a job you hate, that you have to do something that you're good at, that even if you don't like it, tough jelly beans, because that's what you're good at. And so later on, and I didn't do this, but I did write an article. I used to do a column for the Sun called Get Balanced. And one of the articles that I was so delighted, one of the store owners on Main Street has it beside her cash register, the owner of the store, because she really saw my vision that our job as parents and our job as um, teachers, or our job just as adults, anyone a generation over or above, our stewards, it's not our job to force them to go and be a doctor or a lawyer. It's our job to help them explore and hone and develop their natural gifts, talents, and abilities. And I
Yeah.
don't think our school system is at all designed to do that. I think that, parents fall into that same let's work for a large corporation, climb the ladder and step on people, a rat race. And it's just perpetuating this um, really not happy place to be when it comes to work. That's my, BS, my belief system.
Well, I actually agree with that because both Nathaniel and Mia, their plan B was to become a physician. And I'm like, whose plan B is to become a physician? They're like, oh, I love math and science, and they did great in it. And I've always said, okay, you should pursue your passion because if you pursue your passion, you'll never work a day in your life. And as long as you're happy doing whatever it is you're doing, and you can provide for yourself and it's legal it's legal, you should do it. And I remember when he came home with the oboe, uh, he was in the fifth grade and he just started playing it, and he began to play it more and more and more, and he decided that he wanted to pursue music. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll become a surgeon or a physician as a plan B." And I just looked at him with this look like, "Really?" And with Mia, she was volunteering at Kaiser. She took a journalism summer course. She took a law school summer course. She's like, "Yeah, mom, I want to be a physician." And I was just like, "Okay." I'm like, "You do you, do you, boo." And so I really think that as long as you pursue what it is you want, and we allow our children to pursue what it is they want without projecting our lives and our missed opportunities on them, we'll be okay. Because a lot of times it's like, well, I wanted to be this and I missed my opportunity. So I
Right.
want you to be what I couldn't be.
Hmm.
And as long as we don't try to force our children to do what we wanted to do, or we don't try to force our children into our own careers, I think we will be okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Want to welcome in. I'm seeing eyeballs returning or coming back or tuning in for the first time. You are tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show, and our very special series on Wednesdays, Doctors in the House with myself
Dr. Tiffany Tate.
and the topic today is parenting and talking about balanced parenting on my end. And we are agreeing with each other and bringing up what we used in our own success, what we call successful parenting, which worked for us, and offering all of that up to you. If you missed the first part of the show, please do free subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can get that and more. And balance. I think that again, we want to do um, better than our parents, but sometimes we go to the other extreme. And I remember, I think it's my husband's family's one of the kids. So the mom grew up super, super strict, right? So she went to the other extreme and no limits, no nothing. And that child uh, was a product of, no guidance, no, complete hands off, which is also not what we're talking about. So let's be really clear that, like I said, we want to do better, but we don't want to go to the other extreme. We want knowing, take what was good about what resonated with you in
Mhm.
your own as a child, and then those things that didn't, weren't good, I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt, and I'm grateful that I was able to keep that promise that I would never lay a hand on my daughters as a complete uh, other direction of what I grew up with. However, I over yelled at my kids, and it just crushed me that I could hear similar, venom that came coming out of my mouth that I swore I would never do because of the hurtful nature that I received from my mom. And she did the best that she could. She was, similarly treated by her mom. And so I was beating myself up like, you know, 90 ways to, beyond. And I had to get to the point where I had to cut myself some slack because people come to me for happiness coaching and they say, I go, what do you, how do you want to be as a parent? Just nothing like my mother. Or, I don't want to be anything like my mother. And it's like, you know what? Darling, I had to do this with myself. I have genes that are connected to her, and she was my primary role model. So cut yourself some slack. You are going to be kind of like, your mom because that's just, natural. So does that mean you allow yourself to do all the things or say all the things that were hurtful? No, but you do the best that you can. That's why I say just a little bit better than what you didn't like about yourself being raised.
I think that kind of leads into what I did my research on. um, in the last few minutes, I won't go into details. There are some signs on toxic parenting.
Oh, that's a great book, by the way. Toxic Parents. If you have not uh, gotten my book, Eight Ways to Happiness, or you enjoyed that part about healing from childhood trauma, Toxic Parents. Sorry, go
Mhm.
ahead.
So I'm just going to run through the quick list. So be aware if you have any of these, you can recover. So this isn't like, okay, you're stuck. If you're self centered, two, physically, verbally, and emotionally abusive, or even if your parents have these issues, three, constantly blames the child, four, manipulative, five, extremely controlling, six, doesn't respect boundaries, seven, emotionally unstable, and eight, stubborn. And you can even be dealing with this as an adult, and your adult parents are doing this to you. So I was looking at this as like, wow, you can be an adult and have adult parents doing this to you, and you can be an adult doing this to your children. So there can be a cycle going on. And so you can recognize toxic family dynamics, but you can stop the dynamic. And once you recognize the problem, then you can begin to fix the problem.
I'm glad you raised that. I have people who say, I don't have a problem with my whoever the one that is an issue. I don't have a problem with that parent because they're out of my life. I don't talk to them. I don't visit them. They don't see my kids. And my advice is if that's working for you, okay. But I have yet to meet anyone who that really works for because you still have that and you hold that. And so, I'm in that situation as well. And those of you who know my story, it was not easy. It was not easy to forgive, but I didn't forgive her because she deserved it. I forgave her because I love myself enough to not live with that bitterness most of the time. And so here's a couple of techniques if you're in that situation. You don't have to do the all or nothing kind of relationship. You can say, I'm sorry. We've already made plans for da 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 da, and we can't come. Or if you're on the phone and they start with the same controlling, what was it, blaming, all those things that you just brought up, Dr. Tiffany, as signs. And you can say, I'm sorry, at the risk of my mom finding this out. But when she's calling and she starts in on, you don't do this, or you look so fat and blah, 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 I'll say, oh, I'm sorry, mom. There's a client at the door, or I have to take this call, or, love you, God bless, and then I hang up. So, we are our own parent. If you have had abuse in your childhood, they may never change. And it's up to you to love yourself. Doesn't have to be all or nothing. Again, balance is my answer.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that when you're dealing with toxic parents, or if you even have some of these characteristics because your parents did it to you, whether they're in your life or no longer in your life, my final words would be break the cycle, be the change, and start loving yourself enough to recognize that you can be a difference maker and you can love your child. And remember that all time with your children is special, and that eventually you're going to become seasoned in age, and your child will begin to make the decisions about your life, and they'll be the ones to take care of you. And you don't want there to be bitterness or any animosity between you, because when you get up in age, you want there to be nothing but love and respect in that relationship.
Great final words. Go easy on yourself as a parent. Don't use what you're told by other people. Ask yourself right now: have I done the best that I can with the time that I have and the resources that I had as a parent? And because we have to be the ones that say, you know what? I was a good parent 88% of the time, and that's good enough. That's it for us. Thanks so much for tuning into Balanced Parenting, and Doctor's in the house with myself and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate. I see you, Jerry.
we have people. I can't point in here, but I'm glad that Jerry got on the chat. And tomorrow, Straight Talk with Dr. Marissa and James Hawthorne. Come back. We'll have a juicy bit of gossip about our own dating lives. That's tomorrow. It's all about balance, peace in, peace out, world peace through inner peace. Now go and have the best day
Day
ever.
ever.
Thanks for joining us.
Take back your